Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining the WSD November store release webinar. Thanks everyone for joining. Now we'll get started. So just to present the speakers for the session today, I am joined by Siam Taha, who's part of our inbound product management team. We'll be co-hosting the session. So please do interact with us via the Q&A session. We'll both be here to respond to you as we go through the presentation. Myself, I'm Elizabeth. I'm part of the outbound product management team for this session. So just before we get started, I do want to mention the safe harbor notice. Even though everything we'll be presenting to you today is part of our November release, so this was released on November 7th, a couple of weeks ago. However, we might make allusions to roadmap, and in case we do, this is covered by safe harbor, making sure that this that you understand that this could change in terms of scope, but also in terms of timing. This webinar is actually brought to you by a series of webinars. We have multiple throughout the year, either on release or on specific application topics. I do recommend using the QR code. So if you can just flash your phone in front of that QR code, you'll make sure to subscribe to the page so you can be alerted for any other event that we'll actually be hosting, making sure you have the latest, making sure you have access to those webinars. And of course, if any suggestions in terms of topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to include that in the Q&A section. In terms of housekeeping, before we get started, as I mentioned, we do have that Q&A portion of the webinar. Please do use that instead of using the chat. So this really helps us focus on which questions we can help answer. So providing answers to you. If we're not able to answer all the questions during the session today, we'll make sure to follow up. So please do go ahead and share any question you might have. In terms of interacting via this chat, we do really like to get to know you. What challenges are you facing? How can we help solve some of those? So feel free to introduce yourself. Let us know which organization you're from and which application specifically you're looking to implement. This session is actually going to be recorded. So like previous sessions, this will be recorded and posted to the community. So just in case you want to look back at it later, or you have to jump out in case you have to go and do any other session, be aware that this will be recorded and posted. After this session, you'll be prompted to fill out a quick survey. We do really appreciate your feedback. This makes us enhance the way that we can bring these sessions to you, how we can present these sessions to you, provide more demos, and give more information around the product. So during that survey, if you'd please fill that out, provide any suggestions in terms of are there any topics that you'd like us to cover, topics that you don't find a lot of information about, any specific challenges you're facing, please do use that survey to share that information with us. So now to get started, the agenda for the session today, we're going to start by a quick recap of the entire highlights of what we released in November. Focus was then a deep dive into the location directory. So you'll see a lot of the enhancements that have been made there. The schedule planning, which is a net new capability. We'll also then look briefly into the support for Wi-Fi data, which is a big enhancement, and continued investment into our Workplace Connectors app. And then we'll also show you a couple of feature enhancements that we've done to some of the other modules within WSD. We'll then just show you, point you towards where the resources, so if you need additional information, if you need any documentation on existing parts of the product where you can easily access those. And finally, if we have the time for it, we'll finish by a Q&A session. So this Q&A, I have marked it as the last part of the session, but as in every session that we have, please do interact during the session. We're here to be able to respond to those. And if we do not get the time to get to it, we'll make sure to get back to you via email. So now a quick recap of what we delivered within the November release. So as you're probably familiar with by now, WSD has got three main investment themes. So three main pillars, focusing on the next gen employee experience, focusing on everything around space management. So really catering for how does a facility manager interact with their workplace? How can we provide the tools for them to do so, optimize space, make sure they have good space allocations, make sure they can reduce costs. And then last but not least, the third pillar is really around everything smart building integrations and insights. So how can we provide real data, both to employees, but also to the facility team to really understand how space has been consumed and utilized. So then make informed decisions on what changes could be done. So within the employee experience, the major enhancements that's been done is really focused around the location directory. So we'll go into really deep dive into that specific feature in just a bit, where we'll give you a demo of that experience. But what we've included within this release is really the option to be able to have all of the actions that can be done via the desktop on the new enhanced location directory, also available on mobile. So we're having that parity of if an employee's on the go, they can use their mobile to be able to take these actions. We also have made enhancements in terms of service requests. So just to align with our previous release where we enhanced some of the existing service requests to add the impact and urgency, we've also done that for the remainder of the other service requests that did not have it. And we've included a new request that can be made for employees. So this is really based on customer feedback, the way that we've enhanced this, and we'll go into detail during the presentation. In terms of space management, so as I mentioned, this is really focused around providing tools to the facility manager to make sure that they can understand how their spaces are being allocated, change allocations, make sure they can assign employees, make sure they can plan projects. And in this capacity, what we've added is something called scheduling employees. So being able to, if you have a project team working on a dedicated project, making sure you can align the right employees with the right space allocation. So being able to have both space and employees available for a period set of time where those employees will be dedicated to that project and where they'll be specifically assigned to that location within the workplace. We've also made quite a few enhancements in terms of space planning. So this is really in regards to the map-based space administration. So this is where facility manager makes tactical changes, but also the scenario planning where the facility team is going to make more strategic changes. And the enhancements we brought to those capabilities is really to provide ease of use. How can we make it easier for those space planners, space teams, facility teams to make those different changes on those two capabilities? So we'll go through those in detail as we get to that part. Last but not least, I did mention we've continued our investment in terms of workplace connectors, bringing more options of having integrations. And what we're delivering here is there's now a new support for Wi-Fi data. So previously we have the occupancy sensors, environmental sensors, badging data to be able to capture real-time data. What we're really delivering now is the Wi-Fi. So really, we'll get into that as soon as we move through the presentation. So starting off with the location directory, what I'm going to do is now hand it over to my co-host, Siam, who will take us through this capability.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hello, everyone. So yes, for this release, we have focused on a new enhanced experience for location directory based on all the feedback that we got from our customers. So first thing that we have changed is the size of the map. As you can see, location directory is now full screen and really focused on the map. And we're providing a bunch of services that already existed before, and we've enhanced them. For instance, ability to search for an employee, reserve a space, raise an issue, etc. Doing wayfinding is still capabilities that we have as part of this new location directory. We have also included a new neighborhood filter with direct access, as you can see, but we'll go into the demo right after, where you can just check the box and see neighborhoods live on the map. We have also added space occupancy and reservation data in the new filter section that is in the top bar, and that has also been improved. I will share my screen in just a moment to demo that live. But also all of those capabilities for this release have been brought also on the Now mobile application. So every feature that we have as part of the location directory is now available on mobile. It is responsive, so there's feature parity. So everything from booking a room, raising a case, visualizing neighborhoods, searching for a colleague, everything is now also available directly in the Now mobile app. We'll also do the demo of that right after, but I'll start with the desktop. So Elizabeth, I'll start sharing if you don't mind. Okay, can you see my screen? Yep. Awesome. So this is the new location directory now. As you can see, full, almost full screen for the map. So really centered around the map. The card view, of course, still exists. So we do have this button here now that we can just hit and switch to the card view. My computer is a little slow today. This is how you switch, but by default, we go to the map view if a map is available. We still have the campus selector, buildings and floor, that has not changed. As I mentioned earlier, we now have this new neighborhood option. So let me go to building B, floor 2. So now if I zoom in a little bit more on my floor and just hit that button, now the neighborhoods are displayed. That's floor 1. Let me go to floor 2. We have more neighborhoods. There you go. So now the neighborhoods are displayed. You can see the colors here with the different neighborhood colors, and the legend actually shows me what those neighborhoods are. I can also, this legend is also dynamic, so I can also filter out. So if I want to remove customer service management, I just do that. I can just deselect all and just have one neighborhood, for instance, or just IT operations that is just shown here. This legend, of course, focuses on the floor you're on. So if you change floors, then the new neighborhoods will display. So that's the first thing that we added, direct access to neighborhood. We have also included as part of the legend here, the amenities. So let me just remove this, the amenities. So what those icons, so for those of you that are familiar with indoor mapping, you do set a bunch of place types with icons, and sometimes it's not always easy to know what those exactly mean. So we've added the amenities legend so that users can know exactly what those icons represent. So you can see here desks, meeting room, fire extinguisher, and it's all there. So that's it for the legend for now. Now we've also introduced a new filter option on the location directory. So if I click here, and I have a bunch of filtering capabilities that are available. First, reservation status. So if I want to see, and if I have enabled, of course, reservation for location directory, I can just hit reservation status, apply. And then my space will be populated with the different, with the status of my spaces. Here in this case, everything is reservable, but of course, if it's occupied, then it turns to red. So here you can filter, say, I just want to see the booked spaces, or just the available spaces, or just the non-reservable spaces. Filters are included. We have also included the same filter for the occupancy status. So those features were already introduced as part of our August release. We've just reviewed the filter panel. So occupancy status. So if I hit that, then the icons also appear with the different status of my rooms. So the legend, then if I click here and space availability, I can see what those icons actually mean. Currently occupied, currently not occupied, sensor not working, directly from the map. But it also adjusts, the legend also adjusts based on the filters that are selected. So that's another enhancement. And then we have also introduced the space type filter. This was previously introduced just for the card view. It was a different mechanism for the map view. So we've actually brought that over the map view as well. So now you're filtering based on space types. So let's say I want to only see rooms. I can just select rooms and apply. And then I'm just seeing my rooms on the map. This gets carried over to the card view as well. Now that we're using the same value, it is shared across both card view and map view. That's another enhancement that we made. So that's part of the, that's all for the filters. Of course, the experience of room booking, for instance, are still available. So let me add the reservation status again. I can just hit on a room, and the card view, the space details card appears. I can make a reservation directly from here. Directs me to the space details page. I can also raise a case directly from here. Already pre-existing feature, just still available. And then get directions. You now have two options. There's this big get directions button for wayfinding, or you can directly start wayfinding from the space details card. So this is also available. And then the map display settings still contain showing the name of permanent seat assignments for users. The ability to show people who booked a space on location directory is introduced in our February release. Our November release only includes permanent seat assignment. So if I go here, if I activate this feature and go on this floor, for instance, I can see the names of the different people assigned to those spaces. So this is essentially it for the desktop version. of location directory, I'll hand it over back to Elizabeth to show the mobile version. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Siam. Now let's just go ahead and show you the mobile version. Let's connect to my phone. There we go. So I'm currently on my mobile device. So this is why the Now Mobile app, just as you saw on the screenshots we had on the slide, and through the explanations that Siam shared, you can actually have this location directory on mobile. So what I'm going to do is select the 3 dots at the top right of the screen next to the small profile picture. And then just like I could do in the past, I still have the option here today to make a reservation, to view my reservations, and I have this new option of being able to view the location directory. So what I'm going to do is select that button, and what it's going to do is exactly the same behavior as what we have on the desktop. It's going to load by default the map view, so showing me that global view of the specific map. Just as Siam mentioned, I have the option to either search for a direct person to have the map zoomed in to a specific space, a specific person I'm looking for, use the drop-down list to select my specific campus, or directly select from the map the small icon. So what I'm going to do is just here select the campus. I've clicked on the campus icon. I've got my 2 buildings within my campus that have opened. I could just specifically here in the list, select my building. So I'm going to go for floor 2, show you a different way of selecting it. And it's going to load the specific floor plan. And then just from here, I can do the same thing. I can say, I want to look at floor 2, so load me floor 2. It's going to take a few seconds to update and show me the information on my floor 2. Just like what we saw on the desktop, you have the different options to zoom in, zoom out on the side of the screen, but also on mobile, it's a lot easier to pinch the screen to be able to zoom in, zoom out, but also rotate the map. So I can easily rotate it. So since now we're on video, I'm just checking and I can see it slower. In real time, with my fingers, it's faster to move on the screen. I can see I still have my options of, on the top right, I have the option of the small arrow to be able to get directions. I can also see I have the option to have the filters. So if I select the filter button, I'm going to get the same options that were shown on desktop. So this is what Siam went through, so I won't go through them in detail again, but you'll see that we have the reservation status, the occupancy status that I can select to have switched on, switched off, depending on what clarity I would like to have on the map. And then same for the space type. I can select specifically what space type I would like to be able to have on my map. So now going back to my map view, we can see that I also have on the bottom right, just below the plus minus sign, I still have the toggle icon. So the small gear icon that I can actually select to have that switch from, do I want to see the name of the space or the name of someone that's permanently assigned to that location? So that same parity between the mobile and the desktop. Just below that, I have the option to switch to the card view. So I could also switch back to my card view based on the same filtering that I have input. So here again, I can see that the same visualization of the spaces. So based on what filters I'd applied, this would also be retained within when I'm looking for this specific space switching from map to card view. If I just go back to the map view, we're now going to look at how to activate the neighborhood portion. And this is done by swiping up on the bottom of the screen. So we could see that small faint gray line where I can just swipe up and get that same legend view that I had on desktop. So as Siam showed, you have the amenities, so you could just really understand what do the icons represent in terms of the small bluish color. I might not necessarily know that's an elevator, but here I have clarity, so I can really understand my map. I can also look at really understanding the space availability. Right now, I haven't added the sensor data, so I'm only looking at green or red spaces. If I had spaces booked, those would appear on the map as red. However, everything's shown as green, so I can really understand here that those are spaces that are currently available that I could reserve. And then last but not least, in this legend piece, I have the option to select neighborhood. So from here, I can do just the same as on desktop, is select to view my different neighborhoods. So I can just scroll down and have my map showing my different neighborhoods. Right now, all of them are selected, but I could easily just have that pop up back again to be able to select which specific neighborhoods I would want to see. So I could just remove the blue ones. I don't want to see them. I really want to focus on the other pieces. So really providing clarity for me based on what I'm trying to search for. Just like on desktop, I have the option to select any of the spaces. Let's say I really want this one. I selected that one. I have the option to get directions. So that's the wayfinding capability. I have the option to favorite this specific location. So I could just select the heart button to be able to mark that as one of my favorite spaces. I could select the 3 dots coming down to copy the URL to share with a colleague. I could raise a case from here. So everything that Siam showed you directly from that desktop version, and this was already part of the location directory in the past. I also here have the option to reserve the space. So just like on the desktop, it will open up that experience for me to be able to make the reservation of that specific location. So you can see I marked it as favorite. So this is being retained here, showing me that this is one of my favorites now. And I can go ahead and input all the information in terms of when do I want to book it, what would I like to have in terms of detail for this reservation. So I can do exactly the same experience on desktop and on mobile, really providing a way for employees to take these actions on the go. They're not always with their desktop. We want to make sure that they can also now achieve this with mobile, and really listening to customers that wanted us to really implement parity between mobile and the desktop experience. So this is one of the key reasons why we have this new capability. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and we'll get back to the other pieces of the demo. So I'll go back now to the slides. So now looking at one of the key features we added for everything around space management, really providing more capability for our space planner persona. So what we've added here is a schedule planner. And the idea behind this is really to optimize the way that a space planner, project manager, is actually going to be able to create different projects and ensure that they have both not only spaces, but also employees aligned to make sure that they can work on the projects for a specific period of time, meaning I need these specific spaces that are part of a specific allocation. So this could be a department, this could be a neighborhood, this could be a cost center, and making sure I have the right employees that are part of that same department, neighborhood, or workplace entity, combine them both, making sure I have the right number of employees, right number of spaces to be able to work on that specific project. So I'm just going to show you a quick demo because it'll be much easier to understand and really to grasp what we've delivered within this release by looking at it directly from an instance. So I'm just going to log in to my instance. Let's just refresh to make sure we're on the latest. So this new schedule planner is found within the Workplace Central, as it's really focused around the facility manager, the space manager. This is their home zone. Workplace Central is their home zone where they will find everything related to space optimization, maintenance, lease, case management, the event planners really understanding my reservations within the workplace. Having all of that in one location really facilitates the way that they can take several actions. So what we've added here is a new option. So the schedule planner, which is shown here, is really to provide that way for a project owner, a space planner, to really be able to take action and create these different plans. So the schedule plans, as we call them. Just like every other application we have within Workplace Central, we're delivering this homepage where they will get key metrics on the different projects and plans that are ongoing. So right now I'm logged in as a project owner or space planner that is responsible, who's the primary contact, who's the owner of several departments. So this is either by department, either by cost center, or by workplace entity. So right now I'm really focused on the department. For now, we only have the option of having this sorted by one specific allocation type. So I'm responsible for different departments, and these departments have spaces allocated to them and have users assigned to the department. So what I have is 12 schedule plans that have already been created. I'm responsible for 15 different departments. 204 users are actually assigned to these different departments, and I have these 414 different allocations. I can get the detail of each of these specific tabs if I scroll down and view the list view, but I could also select any of these and have the list view already open for me. So what I'm going to do is explain and go through the process of actually creating the plan to understand what are the different steps that the project owner is going to go through. So what I'm going to do is create a new plan. So let's say I want a team to work on a specific project. So right now, let's call it just project webinar. I want to make sure which department is going to be working on this specific project. I want the development team to be working on this specific project. Do I have a specific description I'd like to have in there? Let's say I'm working with a different team, or I want to make sure if I've got different schedule plans that have similar names, I have full description really to understand. I can include it here. Once that's done, I'm then going to move on to the template to really understand what would be the time frame, the duration that this plan will be active for. So the schedule part, this is part of a platform capability where I can really define, is it every single day of the week? Is it 5 days of the week? Is it 7 days of the week? Or from what to what time to what time? So this is really pulling from a platform capability. So what I'm going to say is from 8 to 5 weekdays, and this is going to pre-fill the description that's associated to the specific schedule. Next step for me would be to actually define the start date. What I can't do is select a date in the past, so I'm always going to have to select a future date. So let's say this project is going to be kicked off. Let's give it a week. It's going to start on the 21st. It's going to select the 21st date and then select the end date. So that project's probably going to go on for 2 weeks. So I want to make sure that those teams get allocated to the right spaces for 2 weeks. So let's go on to the 5th of December and select OK. I'm then going to move on to the next step. So now that I've got my plan defined in terms of the time frame, when is it going to start, when is it going to end, what days are accounted for, I'm then going to have to define as part of that development team, how many people do I need? Do I need specific people? How many should I select? So this is going to be the user selection, which is in part 2. So I could actually select just randomly the first 10 on the list. I could select individually which ones I like to have, but just for the purpose of this demo, let's just select, let's just go for five of them. I'm just going to select the first 5. I can see that they're part of this specific department. I can see what location they're in. I can see their email address. I can see the name. I can get all of their detail. I'm going to select next. I'm going to move on to the next step. So now that I've got my schedule plan scheduled for a specific time frame, I've got which users are going to be working on the project. Now I need to understand what spaces are going to be assigned to this specific project. So let's just say I want 10 spaces. So we know the ratio between users and specific spaces is not the same. We know this is a demo instance, so the data does not always match, but I just want to show you for the purpose of the demo that you can have a different number of users and spaces, and this will be clarified in the second part. So now I have my spaces. I'm just going to select next, and then it's going to bring me to the mapping phase. So mapping phase is really associating one specific user with one specific location. So taking in mind that usually a project manager works within one specific location, so they usually get assigned neighborhoods or departments within one specific location, so they won't have the issue of understanding which locations have been selected. So you probably saw on the previous page that not all locations were in the same country, but I just want to remind everyone that this is demo data. This is just to show you the larger picture. So what I can see here is I've selected 10 spaces, I've got 10 employees, and the mapping is automatically done. So it's automatically going to assign a specific space to a user. And then it's going to give me a validation status in terms of, is this valid? Is there too many users compared to spaces? Is there too many spaces compared to users? So it's going to give me this information before I can actually validate the next step. If I'm not fine with the way that these allocations have been done, if I want to say that Alison should not be allocated to this location, I want to move her to a different location, I could just select any other space from that have been selected for this specific schedule. So I could say I want her to be assigned to this specific location. So I could go through them manually and make those different changes. But now you see that I've got this space that's twice in the project. So I have it now allocated to my specific user, but I also have it selected but not allocated. I've had it twice. And I can see that different errors will change as I do these different allocation swaps. So I can go through and make the different edits before making sure I validate the project and making sure I have the right amount of spaces, the right amount of users. Once I do validate and do have my final plan, what's going to happen is it's going to update, and it's going to send out an email to every single user that's involved in the project to make sure that they get the understanding of they've now been assigned to a new location for a specific amount of time. So this will be a notification that gets triggered automatically as soon as the project gets validated and the project is about to start. So this is also going to update the workplace user profile, where they will see a new assignment location of where they'll be working during that period of time. So that was the update in terms of schedule planning. So it's really focused around if your organization is working on projects, if they need to really align employees with spaces to be able to utilize this capability of schedule planning. So I'm just going to go back to the slides, and then we'll move on to the next capability. So now the next one I mentioned, we're continuing our investment in terms of workplace connectors. So really providing now a new framework to support Wi-Fi data. One of the reasons why we added this is because we understand that a lot of organizations already have the Wi-Fi devices in place. So this does not mean an additional cost, an additional budget where you need to purchase the hardware such as occupancy sensors or environmental sensors. If you don't already have them, it's a lot easier to leverage the existing hardware that's in place. So therefore, creating these connections will be much easier for organizations. So what we provided is really the table to capture the information. What we do expect is for partners, customers to actually build the integration from this specific device to WSD to make sure the information gets pushed into the right tables. So in terms of what a space planner, facility manager can actually get in terms of insights is really going to provide them with information on understanding how space is being utilized. So it won't be such as occupancy data, what we can get from sensors, because it will be less specific. However, this will provide them with an understanding of how many people were on a specific floor. So a Wi-Fi device really captures more information in terms of a larger surface to provide that insights in terms of a bigger location than a specific desk or a specific meeting room. And so what we can get from this Wi-Fi data is really understand when does a device such as a phone or a laptop connect to that Wi-Fi access point. Do we understand what time do they log in and what time do they log out? So start of the timestamp and then end of the timestamp. So that can really provide granularly detailed to the facility team if they really want to understand on a specific employee. So this is probably not the use case for a lot of people, but on a specific employee, how long have they spent in one location? Or understand more generally, how much time do people in general spend in the cafeteria? What are the peak times where they see a lot of people in that cafeteria? So really being able to understand a lot of the information coming in from those sensors and provide the information within WSD within these new tables. We then have quite a few enhancements, as I mentioned, providing easier ways to utilize some of our space management capabilities. So in terms of space planning, we have a lot around the map-based space administration. This really provides a way for space planners to be able to make tactical changes. So just as a refresher for everyone, map-based space administration is really to make changes to allocations or assignments on a real-time basis. So if I'm making these changes, it's going to affect the data in real time. Whereas if I'm looking to do more of a strategic change, so if I want to do a reorg of my full building or my full campus, or if I want to move a department from one specific floor to another, or if I want to make much bigger changes, more strategic, this will be done via scenario planning. So this will be more taking a snapshot of what I have today, looking at it in the lens of a scenario plan, so making it a what-if solution, being able to make those adjustments before actually affecting anything in production once those get deployed. So what we've really provided here is more ease of use, so ways to facilitate the way that a space planner can interact with both of these solutions. So these are really simple changes that are going to really facilitate the way that a space planner can take these actions. So first of all, we now have the ability to select all the spaces on the floor plan that belong to a specific department, neighborhood. I'll show you within an instance shortly what I mean. But previously, what a space planner would do is actually select them either one by one or lasso a specific area, saying these spaces, I want all of these 5 spaces to be assigned to a new department, or I want all these spaces that are currently part of finance to move to a different cost center, being able to make those changes in a much easier way. We also now have the option to configure the view by option. So this is done at the instance level where the admin can actually define which should be my default option. So which would be the option shown by default. Just a refresher for everyone, the view by is the option of how you're going to view either your stack plan or your floor plan. This could be by assignment type, by neighborhood, by cost center, by occupancy status. It could be all of what you select. So you can define one of those to have by default. Therefore, when opening up those tools, that will be the default option shown. So this is done at the instance level. And if you don't want all the options to show today, let's say you only have neighborhoods and space types within your space status within your instance. If you only have those 2 set up, perhaps you don't want to have the option to see the cost center, department, workplace entity. So you can remove those from the list, making sure your space planner can then only utilize the features that are actually utilized by your team. And then last but not least, we have the automatic synchronization. So this is really to provide an ease of use when moving from the floor plan view to the stack plan. So once you made the change on one of those, moving from one to the other, previously you had to refresh the page. What we're providing here is an automatic synchronization. Therefore, when I switch from one to another, I don't have to refresh my page to be able to get the updated version of what I just changed in one of those plans. And the one I did not mention is also a improvement in terms of how can we easily select the entity. So when I'm changing allocation, if I want to change the allocation from, let's say, the finance department to the HR department, previously I'd had to scroll through the whole list. And if I had a huge list of different departments, I would have to go through the whole list to make sure I found it. What we have now is also the option to type in what you're looking for. So typing the first letter that will help reduce the list, or just simply typing in the whole name to easily find that when searching for that new allocation. So what I'm going to do, since I see we're good on time, what I'm going to do is go into an instance and show you those different new enhancements in action. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the scenario planning. So this scenario planning specifically has no different allocations or different assignments. So what I wanted to show you here is the option of when I say we can define the view by, this is the view by option, which is, oh no, because I'm not in the right one. When I mentioned, did I mention the, no, I'm not in the right one. So sorry, let's start with the scenario planning, with the map-based space administration one. So what I'm going to do is go to my building view. So I'm just going to select my building A campus here. So it's going to load my data. By default, I've selected a specific way of seeing my different ways of classifying my spaces. So right now I've selected to see them based on assignment type. So this is defined here when my view by, this is my default option, the assignment type, but I can also select any from this list. So as I mentioned, what the admin can do is really define in the backend which should be that default view by, but also how many of these do you want to show? Do you want to show them all? Are some of them not relevant to your organizations? Would you like to remove them? All of this can really be defined by that admin in the backend. So let's say I want to move now to my different departments. I want to see my stack plan and my floor plan based on departments. I can see my stack plan. I can then move on to my floor plan. And I'll be able here to view, just like I could before, my specific building. Let's move over to floor 2. I believe there's a few more allocations than floor 1. So I can see, just like in the previous release, different colors based on my different departments. I can also see some key metrics here in terms of how many spaces are on the floor, total capacity, but also assignment and assignment ratios. One of the key pieces that we've added here, as I mentioned, is the option to select the specific entity I want to edit. So let's say I want to edit all the spaces that belong to legal. I want to move legal to somewhere else. So I want to specifically select these spaces to have them assigned to a new department. I can, instead of having to select them one by one and make those changes, I can easily here select the entire department of legal for this floor and then make the changes. So then be able to edit the spaces. I still have the option, if you recall, to be able to select multiple by doing a lasso function and selecting them. This is if they're part of different neighborhoods. But I could also, if I just go back, I could also just say I want 3 of these different departments. We're now changing everything. I want them as assigned to one specific department. I could just easily select these 3 and then edit my spaces, which will take me to that edit page to be able to make those changes in an easier way. So what I wanted to, the other piece, let's just do it in an easier way. This piece I wanted to show you in terms of how am I making my changes on the map-based space administration view. So selecting all my spaces, saying, just as I was before, I can change, add, or remove the allocation. What I want to do here is change the allocation. So from the different departments they're currently on, I want to move them to a different allocation. So they're going to still be by department. However, they're not going to be the same department. So what I could do here is have the list. Right now, there's not that many, but if they were that many, you'd keep scrolling until finding the specific value you wanted. What we've added here is really the possibility to be able to start typing. So that shortens the list so you can directly select from that list. So let's say I want them now from human resources, and I can continue with my next steps of what was previously there in terms of tenant, owner, and then defining the ratio of that. So this is in a similar capacity, similar to what we have within the scenario planning view. However, scenario planning is done in a similar way. However, doesn't link to this specific page. So let's just go back to my space optimization, and let's select a specific scenario that's already been created. Let's select this one. So we're back on the first one where I showed you I have my specific building A. This is a scenario of today. I don't have any allocations. I don't have any specific assignments. I want to work on my floor plan on how I could one day do my allocations. So this is the scenario of we're starting from nothing. I have the same option here to select everything. So all these spaces that are unallocated. So if I had a couple that were allocated to something else, I could select those, but in this case, I don't have any. I could just select them and then make changes to the allocations. So from here, I'm going to change the allocation. In this case, I don't have any, so I'm going to add an allocation. For my specific neighborhood, same thing. If I had a long list, it would be complex for me to scroll through. What I can do is just easily type here, and it will show me what's relevant in terms of what I started typing. So that would be in a similar way as what we can do on the map view, on the map-based space administration view. That was just the updates in terms of the enhancements we made for the space management topic. What I'm going to do now is go back to the slides so we can continue with the last topic we want to go through today, which is enhancements in terms of the case management module. So now this is really focused around how can we provide the best services to our employees, making it easier for them to interact with the system, making sure they provide the right information so the facility teams really have the right information so they can act upon, understanding what's the urgency of the request. Is it going to impact someone? Is it going to impact me, the team? Is it going to impact more people? But also providing more services. So what we've done here, as part of our previous release, we made enhancements to the badge request, tech, equipment, cleaning and catering, and heat and cooling. What we've done here is enhance the rest of the services. So in terms of general requesting a desk change, space arrangement and furniture, all of these have been enhanced to be able to provide those additional fields in terms of being able to include urgency and impact. So this is now common throughout all those different service requests. For space management, what we've done is also in a similar way that what is available today for catering is enabling an employee to be able to request a space arrangement and have it tied to an existing reservation. So in a similar way, they'll be able to, when they make their reservation, invite specific attendees, add extra services, and have the request of, I want the room that's currently in classroom style to be switched to theater style. If they don't do it during that reservation process, they can now just go to the space arrangement through the general case request to be able to say, I've got this reservation. I would like to have the specific layout of the room changed and then have that submitted and tied to the reservation, if that's not already done through the reservation process. If they don't have a specific reservation, but they would like the change done for that location, that can also be done. They would just have to define what date and time they would like that change to be done to make sure that the facility team can cater for that. What I do want to point out is one of the new service requests which we've added based on customer feedback. This is really around how can we provide an easy way for employees to request parking. So this can be parking in terms of I'm going to a specific location. I've been assigned to a project for 3 months. I go to the office by car. I need to make sure I have a specific parking space for me. So what an employee is going to do is going to open that employee parking service request. They're going to input quite a bit of information in terms of all the information related to the specific car. So understanding the license plate, the model, understanding are there any specific requirements? Is it an electric car? Does it need a specific location for it? But also filling in all emergency information in terms of if something happens to the car, if someone needs to be contacted, if the car is on fire, let's say, for example, making sure that that information is input, and then defining really for how long they're requesting that parking space. So as I mentioned, this specific person is requesting a space for 2 months because they're working on a project for 2 months. They would input that information, so making sure that the facility team has all that information so they can then, perhaps they've got existing parking spaces they can allocate to him. Or if they're using like a third party, maybe they don't own the parking, maybe that's their, looking at that case, maybe they have to go and contract that third party to get a parking space and have that given to the employee. So different use cases around, just to say that we've made a couple of enhancements really to provide a unified experience throughout all the different service requests by providing, for one, that urgency field, but also the impact field. So that was the whole part that we wanted to share with you in terms of what was released in November. Of course, there are a few more tweaks that we've made to the product, which can be found through the release notes. So what I do recommend is looking at some of the links for more information. So the first one is the product documentation. So as I mentioned, release notes will be out there. Specific detailed information for every single one of the modules can be found out there. The community, so the recording of this session we posted to the community. We also have a blog post that will be posted very shortly, going through in detail every one of the features we went through today, explaining how to configure them, but also explaining what the experience would be like for the employee, for the space planner, and how they would interact with the system. And then last but not least, I'd recommend also taking a look through Now Create, really to understand some of the steps and guidance into how to set up some of these applications which you might not already have today.